So I applaud honesty, and I applaud the people that concocted the Expropriation Act for being honest as to what it is. Now you have to send emissaries all over the world to say this thing we've called an Expropriation Act, in fact, isn't an Expropriation Act, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But anyway, you have undermined any ownership of any kind of property in this country by passing that act. It's a complete economic killer.
That is a figment of your imagination. Read the legislation.
I've read the legislation. No, I've had experts here talking about the legislation.
Yeah, but you need to read it with intention, not with prejudice.
Okay, so
let me unpack the public interest. I mean, I've listened to you, on this one. Let me unpack the public interest. Very clear. Examples are even made. There's a dilapidated building in the CBD. We need to get student accommodation going with the increasing numbers of students that are accessing higher education, thanks to an ANC-led government that introduced the Tertiary Education Fund for South Africa, TEFSA, in the early 90s, which is a precursor to the NSFAS that we have today. How do I know that thousands and thousands of young people need accommodation? Because the doors of learning and culture, as the Freedom Charter says, have been opened. I know this. I sat on that TEFSA board as a student leader, representing students, which gave birth to the NSFAS. So there's a demand for student accommodation, and there's some dilapidated building in the CBD that can be converted, or in Braamfontein, or somewhere in Brixton. As you see, a lot of development is happening in that environment, changing the spatial patterns in the space. There is absolutely nothing dodgy about the Expropriation Act.
No, under those circumstances.
We have explained it.
Under those circumstances, right?
The public interest refers exactly to things like those. I fully agree with you. There is no public interest that says you'll just go and grab Makulu's house and take it.
If you decide it's in the public interest?
You would.
Why not?
Because
why not?
No.
Well, who decides what is dilapidated? What is the yardstick for dilapidated?
No, you are basically on a trajectory to pursue the argument of AfriForum and Solidarity and the DA. And that argument is...
Do you want to call the Ku Klux Klan? Keep going.
No,
I don't know. You've obviously got an agenda here.
No, I don't have any agenda. Okay. My agenda is the ANC and communicating the message of the ANC, which is known to South Africa.
Right.
But you are saying exactly the things that they've been saying. I've been in debates on this issue.
And they're saying it because
and they go to the United States. You talked about the U.S. People going to United States. I thought I should react to that in line with your line of questioning. They went to the U.S. and said that basically farms, land, properties are going to be seized under the Expropriation Act. A total misrepresentation of that piece of legislation.
Are you
the
saying
public interest clause is not aimed at destabilizing society, cohesion. It's aimed at making sure that the land is available for the state for the purposes of development.
But now that's if you were in charge, right? But what happens if Jacob Zuma's in charge? Do you understand what I mean? Suddenly public interest becomes a different question. So let's just imagine.
Laws are laws.
No, this is a law that's open to interpretation.
Well, you just used a bad example, Zuma. Maybe you should use a more saner example.
I think I'm using that as an opposite example. Because he's the kind of, that's the kind of person that we have to write laws for.
Yeah. Right? It could very well, by the way, be another, another right-wing extremism.
Whoever, exactly. Yes, therefore don't give them bad laws. Now,
think about that, the type that is pursuing. And I wonder if you'll bring them to your show to talk about the type that is creating an Orania and is seeking to extend the Orania to another Kleinfontein, which another new Orania, and basically people who are separatists.
Yeah, bad laws.
It's not about the law.
Well, you're saying what they're doing is illegal.
It's wrong.
Is it illegal?
No.
Okay, there's a difference now between wrong and illegal, and you're saying now we can make a call.
Well, I struggle, actually. I actually struggle with the your discourse, because the discourse seems to think that the problems in South Africa are only limited to the wrongs of the African National Congress. The African National Congress has always considered the things that we failed to do correctly and how we've disappointed a lot of our people and in general the people of South Africa. Okay. You can go through so much of that publication, including our president says this regularly, but he says we are coming back, and we are coming back on an ethical footing, which is why I keep reminding you that this idea that ANC people are cadres and they're corrupt, all of them, is very wrong.
Okay, so let's do a little exercise, you and I, right? I hand over your phone number because I've got your number to an international investor. They contact you. They say, I am Mr. Big Shot from some country and I want to open a multi-billion-dollar factory in South Africa. I'm going to buy this land, which I've earmarked. I'm going to build a big factory, right? I'm going to employ thousands of people. But I need to know that nobody, not just you, but nobody could at some stage say, in the public interest, we might just want your big factory and your intellectual property. Can you guarantee me that you can't have it? Then he says, I'm going to bring in a lot of specialists, but I see that there's an employment equity tick box exercise, right, where I am being told who to hire, right? And I run companies all over the world, and nowhere am I told who I must hire. Should I invest in your country or shouldn't I? How would you answer that particular investor?
That you can go and invest in India or elsewhere.
So go somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay. So,
no.
Well, we can see why we've got a growth rate of 0.5, 0.6%.
No.
Okay. I think that's the.
No.
You've joined Dada Moreira as the other honest politician because at least you've answered the question honestly.
If you are coming and now I see you're bidding for Starlink by Elon Musk.
I am.
You are. That's the anecdote that you're utilizing is that of the Starlink issue with Elon Musk.
Okay,
I'm saying here
right.
that anyone who wants to come and invest in South Africa must abide by the South African Constitution and the laws of the country. Okay. Any self-respecting country does that.
Okay.
That's not unique to an ANC-led government of national unity. It's just what it is.
And therefore, by that same logic, we must just be happy with no growth, economic growth in the country, because that's how it's manifested.
We must have growth.
Where's it going to come from?
And specifically inclusive.
Where's it going to come from?
Inclusive economic growth.
Where's it going to come from?
It's going to come from infrastructure development. Read the entire budget.
We've read the budget. But
you've not read. Let me unpack the budget for you. Give me a minute to break it down for you because the obsession with the VAT issue is blinding, I think, your perspective. That budget is the most developmental budget you can ever find in South Africa. One, I'm now speaking about the expenditure side of the budget. The budget provides for increased access to education, particularly early childhood development. There are allocations made in that respect, which amounts to effective practical implementation of the Bella Act that you and the people that pursue this narrative believe that the Bella Act is problematic, which is aimed at strengthening access to early childhood development. And people are jumping up and down saying the Afrikaans language is going to be undermined by this Bella Act, and which were proved to be totally incorrect.